Hospitals have secret codes announced over the intercom that mean life or death situations are unfolding, and most patients have no idea what's happening around them. Let's start with the one everyone's heard of, Code Blue. Code Blue means cardiac arrest. Someone's heart has stopped or they've stopped breathing. When you hear Code Blue, third floor, room 312, a team of doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, and pharmacists are sprinting to that room. They've got minutes to restart that heart or that patient dies. What you don't see is the controlled chaos. Someone's doing chest compressions so hard they're often breaking ribs. That's normal and necessary. Someone else is managing the airway, forcing oxygen into collapsed lungs. Another person is starting IV lines and pushing medications. The code team leader is calling out orders, tracking time, and making split-second decisions about defibrillation and drug protocols. Here's what hospitals don't tell you. Survival rates for in-hospital cardiac arrests are only about 25%, and of those who survive, many have brain damage from oxygen deprivation. The first few minutes determine everything. That's why code teams train constantly and why the response is so aggressive. Code Red means fire, not a drill, an actual fire in the hospital. When Code Red is called, staff follow race protocol, rescue anyone in immediate danger, activate the alarm, confine the fire by closing doors, and extinguish if possible. But here's the terrifying part. Hospitals can't evacuate like other buildings. You've got patients on ventilators in surgery too sick to move. The strategy is horizontal evacuation, moving patients to another wing on the same floor behind fire doors. Vertical evacuation, carrying patients downstairs, is last resort and incredibly dangerous. Code Pink or Code Amber means infant abduction. A baby has been taken or there's a suspected abduction in progress. Every exit locks down immediately. Nobody leaves the hospital. Security guards every door, checking IDs and inspecting bags. Staff check every bathroom, closet, storage room. They're looking for someone trying to hide a baby under clothing or in a bag. This happens more than you'd think. Desperate people, pregnancy loss, mental illness, all kinds of tragic situations lead to attempted baby abductions. If you're learning what really happens behind hospital walls, hit subscribe. We're exposing the codes and secrets that healthcare workers live by. Code Gray means combative person or violent situation. Someone's attacking staff, threatening people, completely out of control. Security responds, but here's what's complicated. Sometimes it's a patient with dementia who's terrified and lashing out. Sometimes it's a psychiatric patient in crisis. Sometimes it's a family member who's drunk, high, or just lost control. Code Gray situations are dangerous because healthcare workers are trying to help, not fight, but they get punched, kicked, spit on, bitten. Hospital violence against staff is a massive problem that doesn't get enough attention. Code Silver means active shooter or person with a weapon. This is the nightmare scenario. The protocol is run, hide, fight. If you can run, run. If you can't, hide and barricade. If confronted, fight for your life. But hospital staff can't just run. They've got patients who can't move. The protocol says save yourself first, but how do you abandon a patient on a ventilator? These are impossible decisions that haunt healthcare workers in active shooter drills. Code White usually means pediatric emergency or neonatal emergency. A baby or child is crashing and the pediatric code team responds. These are different from adult codes because everything about treating children is different. Drug doses based on weight, smaller equipment, different protocols. Code White situations hit staff hard emotionally because it's a child fighting for life. Code Yellow means missing patient. Someone has wandered off or hasn't been seen for a certain period. This is usually a confused elderly patient, someone with dementia, or a psychiatric patient. Staff search the entire hospital. Every floor, every department, stairwells, outside areas. Sometimes missing patients are found dead in stairwells or bathrooms. Sometimes they've left the building entirely and are wandering outside in a hospital gown, confused and vulnerable. Code Orange means hazardous material spill or chemical exposure. Someone's been exposed to dangerous chemicals or there's been a spill that's contaminating an area. The hazmat team responds in protective gear. The area gets sealed off. If patients were exposed, they need decontamination before treatment. This happened a lot during the early days of COVID when protocols were still being developed and PPE shortages meant potential exposure risks. Code Black has different meanings at different hospitals, but it often means bomb threat. The hospital doesn't evacuate immediately because moving critically ill patients could kill them. Instead, security and sometimes police sweep the building while operations continue. Staff are told to report suspicious packages or behavior. The threat is usually fake, but they can't take chances. Code purple means hostage situation. Someone is being held against their will, usually in a patient room or department. Police respond, but hospital staff have to continue operating around an active hostage situation. They're trying to move patients away from the area, reroute emergency cases, keep the hospital functioning while law enforcement handles the crisis. Code green means evacuation. Something catastrophic has happened, structural damage, massive flood, extended power failure, and the hospital needs to evacuate. This is logistical nightmare. Where do you take ICU patients on ventilators? Patients in the middle of surgery? Newborns in NICU. Evacuation plans involve transferring stable patients to other facilities, setting up temporary care areas, and prioritizing who moves first based on acuity. Here's something most people don't know: code triage or mass casualty incident. This gets called when multiple casualties arrive simultaneously. Mass shooting, terrorist attack, major accident, natural disaster. The hospital switches to disaster mode. Staff report to pre-assigned roles. The ER stops normal operations. Triage happens at the door. Who needs immediate life-saving intervention? Who can wait? Who's beyond saving? These decisions are brutal, but they're designed to save the most lives with limited resources. If this is opening your eyes to what happens in hospitals every day, make sure you're subscribed. We're revealing the reality behind healthcare that most people never see. Now here's what's happening during these codes that patients don't see. Staff are terrified but trained. When code blue is called, the responding nurse might have just lost a patient last week. They're carrying that trauma while sprinting to save another life. When code silver goes out, staff are thinking about their families, wondering if they'll make it home, but they're still at the bedside because patients can't protect themselves. And hospitals also have internal codes that aren't announced overhead. Code strong means security needs to respond to a situation, but quietly, without alarming everyone. Code help or code 96 means a healthcare worker needs immediate assistance. They're being attacked, they're in danger, they need backup now. Some hospitals use color codes, some use plain language. Security to third floor might mean code gray. Dr. Strong to the ER might mean code silver. The terminology varies, but the urgency is universal. Here's what's dark about hospital codes. They're so common that staff become desensitized. Code blue might get called 3 times in one shift. It becomes routine. But every code is someone's worst day. Someone's parent, child, spouse fighting for life. Healthcare workers have to find the balance between emotional detachment to function and compassion to provide good care. There are also codes that mean staff emergency. Code stork means a staff member is in labor and needs immediate help. Code Dr. Pines sounds like happiness. At some hospitals means a staff member needs emotional support. They just lost a patient, they're breaking down, they need someone. Hospitals even have codes for security threats to specific people. If a stalker or abusive partner is looking for a patient, the patient gets flagged in the system. Staff are trained to misdirect, to say the patient isn't there, to alert security. Domestic violence follows victims into hospitals, and codes exist to protect them. Here's the reality: hospitals are controlled chaos, held together by codes, protocols, and healthcare workers who show up every day knowing they might face any of these emergencies. When you hear a code called overhead, dozens of people are responding with precision born from repetitive training and real-world experience. Those calm announcements, code blue, 4th floor, represent someone's life hanging in the balance, staff sprinting to help, families waiting in terror, and a system designed to respond to crisis. Next time you're in a hospital and you hear a code announced, you'll know somewhere in that building, healthcare workers are fighting to save a life, protect people from danger, or manage a crisis. And they're doing it while keeping the rest of the hospital running like nothing's wrong.